Hi, I'm Charles Welch. I was born and raised in Northwest Ohio. For nearly 50 years, Toledo has been the place that I call home. The history of Toledo has become one of my passions. Some people say, let the past stay in the past. I say, let the past guide us to the future. Join me on my journey to find out who we were and how we got to be who we are. This is Untold, the hidden stories of Northwest Ohio. Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Untold. I'm your host, Charles Welch. I've heard a lot of things about Toledo and Northwest Ohio, but one thing that still boggles my mind is the fact that Pretty Boy Floyd had some ties to this area. No, I'm not talking about Floyd Mayweather. I'm talking about the bank robber, the Robin Hood of the 30s, the original Pretty Boy Floyd. His story has many twists and turns, and it's guaranteed to keep you on your toes. What can I say? He lived the life of no other. There he is.
How are you, Charlie?
I'm pretty good, man. You got me meeting you at a barbershop?
Oh, there's no better place for this story.
No better place for this story. I'm interested to find out what we're going to talk about, but we'll see. I have not been in a barbershop in a very long time. It's been a long time since I've been in a barber's chair, as you can see, but you have me at a barbershop in Sylvania on Monroe Street, and I don't know exactly why. I think I have a clue why, but I don't know exactly why. Can you tell me why? First of all, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, Charlie.
Why are we here?
Well, the story we're going to talk about today really starts in a barbershop in Sylvania, Ohio.
Okay.
So we're here at Dale's, and Dale's is my barbershop, and I thought this would be the perfect spot to kind of start this story out. And it travels from barbershop to bank to Akron and back to Toledo. It's really a great story.
And I'll be honest with you, when we discussed the next topic that we were going to, I did not know. It's like a name drop. Pretty Boy Floyd?
Pretty Boy Floyd.
In Toledo.
That's right.
Sylvania, or the
Sylvania.
area.
Yeah, that's right.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened?
So Pretty Boy Floyd, or Arthur Floyd, grew up out in the Oklahoma area and kind of got tired of the farming business. Found himself doing moonshine, and that led to some other crimes. And then pretty soon he ends up in Kansas City, and he robs a Kroger payroll truck.
Okay.
And does pretty well, but then goes back to his hometown in a brand new set of clothes, a new car. Everyone figures out he's up to something. He goes to jail for, I think, 3.5 years in Missouri. Gets out in 1930 with a couple of buds that he met in prison that kind of showed him the ropes, and they decide to come back to Ohio, where one of the guys was actually from Toledo, and they made a list of banks they wanted to rob.
Oh, a whole list.
A list, and on that top of that list was the bank here in Sylvania, the Farmers and Merchant Bank here in Sylvania, right here on Monroe and Main Street.
Right across the street from where we are.
Right across the street. So as the story goes, they show up in town. I think they were hiding out somewhere over in the Trilby area. We know that they had their hair cut and had shaves at Pop Green's barbershop. That's the connection here and why we're at a barbershop. Across the street from the bank. And then rolled up in a car, 4 of them went in, and that's the story of the bank robbery.
Hold it! Get that money in the bags. Move it! You fatty, help him. Over there, lady.
They got their haircut and a shave right before the bank robbery?
Yeah, I love it. Isn't that just a perfect part of the story?
That's got to be very, very brazen.
Eventually what happens is they pile them up against a wall that's facing Monroe Street with their hands up. And the owner of the gas station across the street, one of his employees sees it and says, hey, they're robbing the bank.
Right across the street?
Right across the street,
Okay.
on the corner here. And he picks the phone up, Operator answers and he says, I want you to ring the volunteer fire department siren. They're robbing the bank. All of a sudden, the whole town is lit up with this siren. The whole thing turns into a Keystone Cops episode at that point.
Oh, with the I'm sure it was like a car chase or something. Exactly.
So they come piling out of the bank. The gas station owner comes out of the gas station with a shotgun. He throws a couple slugs at him. He misses. He hits another car. They climb in their car, turn around and start heading down Monroe Street. Now, this is where it gets Keystone Cop-ish. The fire captain, he answered the call. He shows up in a fire engine. And another guy who worked up the street at a tire store, who was a volunteer fire guy, jumps on the back, takes the shotgun from the gas station owner, and they start chasing Pretty Boy Floyd and the gang down Monroe Street in a fire truck.
Okay, so were there no police around, or why is the fire department?
It just all happened so quick, and they were answering the fire alarm, so it was just natural they pulled up in a fire truck.
Oh, wow.
But the fire truck had all these hoses on the back of it, fire truck. So the guy that I mentioned who climbed on second, as they're rolling down Monroe Street chasing these guys, he's throwing 500 feet of hose out the back of the fire truck to lighten the load so they can keep up with the Studebaker.
You are kidding me.
Oh,
it really is a Keystone Cop episode.
It is.
Wow. And so, okay, so they're chasing them down Monroe Street. Do they catch them or what?
They don't. They made a couple of turns off of Corey and then onto Central, back onto Sylvania. They lose them at Auburndale, in the Auburndale area. And basically everybody comes back. Iflin he was pretty beat up pretty badly, the cashier. They realized that he had saved the day. They ended up getting away with less than $2,000. Wow. But if they had left the vault open, there was $20,000 in the vault.
So they do end up getting away.
So they make it back to Akron, which is where they were kind of setting things up. Okay. And about a month later, one of the gang members runs a stoplight. And he's wanted. And when the police officer comes to the car, he pulls a gun out, shoots the police officer, kills him. He's shot by the police officer. Everybody else runs. They're captured. And they go back. Pretty Boy Floyd wasn't with them, but they went back to the cottage they were at. They find Floyd, the rest of the gang, and they realize these are the guys that robbed Sylvania.
All right, so they capture them, they bring them back, they're tried, you said they're convicted and sentenced to jail?
They're sentenced to the Ohio State Penitentiary.
And that's where the story ends?
Well, no, that's where it picks up again.
Okay.
So now they're piled onto a train and they're on their way to Columbus to serve their sentence. And when they got on the train, they searched him down, put him on the train, handcuffed Pretty Boy Floyd to one deputy, and then Floyd kept saying he had to go to the bathroom. And they said, nah, that's not gonna happen. They make it as far as Kenton, and he's demanding that he has to go to the bathroom. So they said, look, here's what we'll do. When the train starts back up, they figured it was less likely he could escape, and then we'll let you go to the bathroom. So they bring him up to the bathroom. They both walk up, still handcuffed, and he steps into the bathroom with a guy that he was handcuffed to, and they turned for just a few seconds, and they heard a crash. They turn around, and he had pushed the window out, punched it out, and jumped out of the train, and the guy he was handcuffed to was standing there with the cuffs dangling. And it comes out later that Floyd had been visited by someone who gave him a handcuff key, and he had it hidden in his mouth the whole time. So he jumps out, train's rolling down the track, the other deputy handcuffs himself, he jumps out to find him, and he disappeared. And that was the escape of Pretty Boy Floyd from the Sylvania bank robbery conviction.
Okay, so he jumps out, he escapes. Does he get away?
He does. He actually gets away, and unfortunately, for a Bowling Green police officer, he shows back up here in Northwest Ohio about 14 months later with another partner, the guy was known as Killer Miller. And this guy was pretty rough too. And they robbed the bank in White House.
Pretty Boy Floyd did?
Pretty Boy Floyd, again. And as it said, they robbed the bank. They were both wearing white Stetson hats that were really stood out. And a couple of days later, they show up, both of them in Bowling Green with their girlfriends, wearing the same hats, walking around with wads of money, buying gifts for their girlfriends. At one point, they're in a store, and as they're getting money out of their pocket, the band on the money still had the bank's name from White House on it.
Really?
And so they call the police. Police show up, follow them down Main Street to around Clough, and they wanted to get him out of the downtown district before they tried to stop him. And they started to head down Clough Street. Police followed him. Before they could say anything, they saw the police wheeled around and a 10-second gun battle happens. One of the Bowling Green police officers shot. He dies a week later. And Pretty Boy Floyd's partner is shot and killed, and so is one of the girlfriends. Floyd escapes again, hops in the getaway car, and he's gone.
Bowling Green, a small town in Ohio, where Floyd decided to look over the local bank. But his nerves were getting edgy, and the curiosity of an innocent policeman regarding his out-of-town license plates made him explode.
You are really messing with me right now because, first of all, I didn't know that we had a local connection with him. And he is just slippery or lucky or both.
I think it's a combination.
It's a combination of both. Okay, so he gets away again. This is what, the third time? Because he got away from the Sylvania robbery, he got away from the prison trip, and he got away.
Slips out of BG.
And then what?
He has to really lie low. After a period of time, he is basically accused of what's called the Kansas City Massacre. And this is where a gangster who was being brought through Kansas City train station to serve in the Leavenworth Penitentiary, people were trying to break him out. And they had federal officials all around. Well, there's a gun battle. The prisoner dies, and so do some federal officials. And they always accused Pretty Boy Floyd of that. At the same time, Dillinger was killed, and now Pretty Boy Floyd was #1 on J. Edgar Hoover's most wanted list. So he goes to Buffalo, lies low for a year. He and a partner and the two girls, by the way, who were with him in Bowling Green, one of whom had been shot. She was healed. They show up back in Buffalo.
So she was able to find him.
I think so. They hang out there for about a year. They decide that the heat's off, and they're going to now drive back to Oklahoma, where he's from. And they make it as far as northeast Ohio, and in a fog, he ends up hitting a telephone pole with the car he's in. So he tells the girls go in town and get a tow truck, and he and the partner will go wait in the woods. People notice there's two guys in suits and ties hanging out in the woods of this, out in the, middle of nowhere. Police show up, another gunfight. Floyd gets away again. His partner is captured, and then it was out. It was over. They put out the alarm. 200 people show up, including most of the FBI and Melvin Purvis. And 2 days later, they find him just coming outside of a barn. And he had been trying to wheel a deal with a farming family to have them take him somewhere. And there's a shootout again, and this time he doesn't make it.
Stop or we'll fire! Floyd! Drop your guns, put your hands on top of your head, and turn around!
Finally, I hate to say finally, but finally.
They take him back to Oklahoma, and 20,000 people show up for his funeral. He was considered the Robin Hood of that era because it was never substantiated, but the rumor always was that one of the things that he would do when he'd go in and rob a bank is he'd grab mortgage papers and burn them because he felt bad for farmers who were being squeezed by bankers during the Depression. I've never been able to substantiate that, but he had this persona where, pretty boy, Robin Hood, he was a ruthless guy.
Oh, yeah?
But yeah, 20,000 people show up for his funeral.
Are you kidding me? To see the then modern day Robin Hood.
That's right.
Wow, and so the bank is still right, well, not the bank is still across the street, but is the vault still there or any parts of the bank?
Vault is still there, the bank is still there.
Oh, the bank is still there?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
What is it now?
It's a key bank.
It's a key bank.
Monroe and Maine.
Wow, and the gas station is it where the gas station is now?
The gas station's now a park.
Ted, I'm sorry that I am still surprised at what you bring to the table. I should know by now not to expect anything but greatness, but this is so dope. Pretty Boy Floyd, bank robbery, here in the area, gets away, comes back. His partner's handcuffed to a Paco of all people, generations down. And I had no clue. I had no clue whatsoever.
Yeah, these are the stories that I think just give, the idea of rich history. It's stories like this, it's just, they're fascinating.
And the landmarks are still here and the stories still live on.
That's right.
Well, Ted, thank you very much for enlightening me and telling me something that I never knew existed.
Always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to have you, man. And I thank you so much for coming.
You bet. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. And that, my friends, was the life of Pretty Boy Floyd. As I said earlier, plenty of twists, turns of fate, daring escapes, and everything in between. And to think, all of that was happening in the 1930s. It still trips me out that Pretty Boy Floyd robbed a bank in Sylvania and was gunned down on a farm in Ohio. Just goes to show that there is so much hidden history in our own backyard. I hope that this episode helped you learn something valuable today about your community. For BCAN, I'm Charles Welch, and we'll see you next time on Untold, Hidden Stories of Northwest Ohio.
Untold, the hidden stories of Northwest Ohio, is brought to you by Holy Toledo History, an archive of stories dedicated to Toledo's past. Log on now at holytoledohistory.com. It's spring, and your time is now. Realtor Charles Welch will handle your every need. Just choose Charlie.